Hello, everyone, and welcome. I'm so very glad that you could join us this morning. I'd like to open our service with these words, which we here at UUFS usually consider our regular chalice lighting. With the kindling of this flame, we affirm and celebrate the light of truth, the warmth of community, and the fire of commitment. We say that is our usual chalice lighting, although we don't always use it. But in many ways, I think it encapsulates what Unitarian Universalists aspire to. Next week, I'll probably talk about the fire of commitment after our Board of Trustees meets this week and discusses the financial situation of our fellowship. But today I want to talk about the warmth of community. I think more than anything else, one thing that I miss about our social distancing, shelter-in-place quarantine world that we're currently living in is that warmth of community. As actress Miriam Margolis said, "I'm an extrovert. I need people. I miss hugs so much. It's quite difficult, actually, because I can't hug myself." Well, I would probably disagree with her a little bit. I think you can hug yourself, and I certainly get hugs from my family. But I do miss that warmth of community that comes from being with all of you on Sunday mornings. I miss your smiles and your hugs and your warm handshakes. With our diverse theological perspectives, Unitarian Universalism isn't centered around one particular creedal statement. And so that warmth of community becomes increasingly important to our theological and congregational life. Studies have shown over and over again how important relationships, friendships are. Lydia Denworth, the author of Friendship, Evolution, Biology, and Extraordinary Power of Life's Fundamental Bond, was interviewed recently by Ari Shapiro for NPR's All Things Considered. And she pointed out that friendships affect both our mental and our physical health in all sorts of ways. It actually seems to increase our longevity. An Australian study showed that strong social networks may lengthen survival in elderly men and women with good friends, even more than in those with close family relationships. In the book, The Top 5 Regrets of Dying, Nurse Bronnie Ware listed not maintaining friendships as one of people's biggest deathbed regrets. Keeping close friends is an essential part of life. It gives meaning and fulfillment. But right now, those bonds of community have been sorely tested. We can't hang out with our friends. We can't come to services here at UUFS. Dinner and lunch and coffee dates are, in person anyway, are non-existent. Sporting events have all been canceled. In fact, all social activities that have helped maintain friendships around shared interests, those have all been curtailed or eliminated. They will resume, but when is the question? Now, I have to admit, I'm a terrible friend. I might go a very long time and not talk to even some of my closest friends. I love them. I think about them often, but I don't write to them. I don't talk to them. We simply go on with our lives. Now, there are all sorts of excuses why that might be true. They're busy, I'm busy, figuring out time zones for the other side of the country or the other side of the world is crazy making. I don't want to bother them. There are all sorts of reasons, and some of them very good. But the reality is, they're all excuses. Right now, more than ever, we have to find ways to maintain relationships in both new and innovative ways and old, tried and true ways. Now, some of those social media platforms, of course, are excellent ways for people to maintain contact. Recently, I heard about someone who was gathering with friends regularly to play games through Zoom. And then I've also spoken with someone who has a Zoom happy hour with their family and friends regularly. But some people are not so lucky. They don't have the resources or the expertise to do Zoom conferences. They might not have access to enough computer bandwidth, or they might not have the necessary electronic equipment. So for those folks, a phone call might help. And you know, there are some folks who live alone, who might not have a large family. They might be introverts. And for those folks, their only contact with the outside world might be a phone call, or a trip to the pharmacy or the grocery store, or even just the delivery person who delivers their pills or their groceries. For all of us, our personal worlds have shrunk. For some, it's a lot. For others, perhaps not so much. But it has happened, and it feels like a kind of loss. It feels like a kind of grieving process for us. We are diminished. We are less than. We're not what we used to be. The world is not what it used to be. Now, often people respond to grief with isolation. They want to go away and lick their wounds. And that is part of the grieving process. And if that's what needs to be done for you, terrific. Do whatever you need to do to take care of yourself. But I would offer, don't let it take over your life. This isolation, this pandemic will end. We don't know when, but it will. And things will return to some semblance of normal. We don't know what that looks like, but it will happen. And even the most introverted person needs other lives. Even a hermit living in a cave, growing their own food, at some time or another is going to need another human being. There is a reading in our gray hymnals, number 468, by George Odell. It is, "We need one another. We need one another when we mourn and would be comforted. We need one another when we are troubled and afraid. We need one another when we are in despair, in temptation, and need to be recalled to our best selves again. We need one another when we would accomplish some great purpose and cannot do it alone. We need one another in the hour of success when we look for someone to share our triumphs, and we need one another in the hour of defeat when with encouragement we might endure and stand again. We need one another when we come to die and would have gentle hands prepare us for the journey. All our lives we are in need, and others are in need of us." So friends, I invite you to please reach out. Don't let social isolation take over your life. Don't let it change how we do everything. We shouldn't and can't change the fact that we need one another, that we need community. So make some phone calls. Do some Zoom chats with someone. Join in our Wednesday evenings check-ins. Become, as Miriam Margolis describes herself, a Zoomer. You'll be glad you did, and so will we. Thank you so much for being with us today, and please stay in touch. Thank you.